Hey everybody, it's November 24, 2024. It's been a bit since we contacted or had a podcast. Lots going on in the last 6 weeks, a lot. And I'll let her start off the podcast.
So just as a quick update with the fertility stuff, I think the last time that we had posted a video, I really can't even remember what we had said, but we had done a second round of egg retrieval, and we had one embryo that made it to the 7th day, but then we were waiting to find out the results on that one. And we were actually planning to start a third round. I was going to go into a third round of egg retrieval, and we were supposed to start that around October 11th, October 12th, somewhere around in there. And anyway, we hadn't heard back on the one embryo yet at that point. But then Bruce had a little bit of excitement.
Yeah, I mean, it started off, I was about to go elk hunting, like October 11th, 12th. Me and Jack were leaving out to go to New Mexico to do our annual elk hunt that we do every year out at the Young Ranch. And I had some chest pains that were bothering me every now and then. And a couple times they got kind of severe, but we were doing Rachel's stuff, and we were in the middle of it.
Well, and also the chest pains got bad because at the time when he got off his Plavix, which we didn't put this together until later, but he got off his Plavix to do his procedure for the fertility stuff, and he had some pretty severe chest pains.
Right. So at that time, I talked to my cardiologist, and he wanted to set me up for a nuclear stress test because I had the stress test before on the treadmill, and it didn't show anything when I was 50, and I had a 99% blockage in my LAD. So he said, well, you fooled at that time. This time we'll do a nuclear stress test, and you can't fool it. So I did that on probably the Thursday before the week I was about to leave out to go hunting. And they did the nuclear stress test, and I didn't as much get back to Nacogdoches, and they were calling me to come back over and talk to them. But I was busy, didn't have a chance to get back over there. Told them I'd talk to them the next day. I talked to their PA the next day at the office, and they were wanting me to do a heart cath. I said, well, I'm just about to leave out to go to New Mexico to go elk hunting. Can we not put this off until we get back? You know, it's so close. We've got everything was already loaded in the truck, ready to go. All we had to do was jump in and turn the key and go. The truck full of gas, everything. Firewood in the back. Well, she said, yeah, that it'd be all right. We would just take care of it as soon as I got back and deal with it then. Well, in the meantime, that same day, the doctor had found out that I was planning on going hunting and had called me and said, hey, I can't stop you from going hunting, but if you're going to go hunting, I'm going to prescribe you a couple of prescriptions, nitroglycerin and something else. So when I had chest pains on the mountain, I might be able to get back to help. We're 3 hours from the nearest city almost, and that's not even a big city. So I figured if it was that serious, I would cancel the trip and get the heart cath, and that was that Thursday. And I thought, at first they were going to do it the first part of the week, and I said, well, that's good. I'll just get the heart cath done first part of the week, and I'll head out Friday and get down there Saturday, be one day late, but I'll still elk hunt. And they said no. After the heart cath, I had to lay low for about 3 or 4 days, let everything heal up. So at that point, I knew the elk trip was off the books completely. Needless to say, I mean, it was going to be off the books completely no matter what, because I went in to get the heart cath on October the 11th, and we got there first thing in the morning.
It was a Friday.
Yeah, Friday. And that was my first day of vacation, so I didn't even take off work because it was just regular vacation day. So I thought I was just going to go in, be in there for a couple hours, maybe get a stint, and head back out. Well, we were there most part of the day. They had several emergencies, and we were at Woodland Heights in Lufkin, because that's where the doctor wanted to do the procedure at. And so we sat there till probably 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Oh, it was 4:30 when you went back. Yeah.
4:30, and I was the last one for the day. And there was about 4 or 5 techs back there, and they wheeled me back. And one of them started talking about crappie fishing, and we started talking about the lakes and spots where we fish, and we were all having fun, just chit chatting, because they sedated me, but I'm still awake enough where I can talk and interact with them. And then the doctor came in, and he did his procedure, and he came over there and talked to me and said, "Hey, can't help you out." He said, "You're going to need a triple bypass." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "No, I think you can fix it, doc." I said, "I got faith in you." I said, "You can do it." And he walked back down to his end of the table, and he spun the TV screen around and showed me where the blockage was. And it was on the left side again from where I had the damage before, but the where the stent was, it was all good, but it had clogged up above where the stent was, and it split in 3, and the blockage was right there on all 3 of them. He said, "Well, I can fix 2, but I can't fix all 3, and he said, "It's just going to cause damage to your heart. You need a bypass." And I mean, it took the wind out of my sail. I mean, I didn't know what to say. But, you know, here we are, and they took me back, seen Rachel, you know, she was shocked, to say the least. So the doctor said, "All right," he said, "you're going to have to be off your Plavix blood thinner for 5 days. As soon as we can get you in is October the 16th. That gives me 5 days to get off of it, and then they wanted to do the surgery first thing that morning." I said, "All right." So I thought we were going to get to go home. We thought we were. And then as soon as we were getting, back in there, recovery, the surgeon came in and had gotten with the cardiologist and said, "I don't even feel safe to send you home, because if the blockage lets go, you may not make it back to the hospital."
Well, they were worried because he had to be off the Plavix for 5 days, and so they didn't want him off Plavix at home. Yeah. With an 80% block. I mean, it was more than that, but anyway.
So we got to stay 5 days in the hospital before they did the heart bypass. They said I need a triple. So I laid low in the hospital for 5 days. I mean, I felt great. We played cards, just visited, had a lot of people, family, friends, and people that come up. And but I didn't know what I was in for. Definitely didn't know what I was in for. I thought it was all fun and games. We
knew it was going to be hard. I mean, people had told us that, it's an open heart surgery, but I don't think you're ever really prepared until you go through it.
Yeah. So come October 16th, they will be in the surgery that morning, and Rachel came back there with me, and surgery lasted 7 hours, which it could have been 10 minutes for me. I was asleep for it, but I mean,
was not.
whenever I've had several surgeries: knee, gallbladder, surgery from my car wreck, and I don't really mind surgeries because it feels like I get a good rest and sleep. But this one, when they put me out, I was gone. And I mean, to back up, whenever the surgeon had said that what he was going to do, because we were debating on going to Houston, but he was a military doctor, and he said I can handle this. I do it all the time. It's no big deal. He's about to retire. Everybody spoke very highly of him in Lufkin, so we decided to go with him. But he said that he's going to cut me open, pack me full of ice, slow everything down, and stop the heart, do the repairs, and then start my heart back. And I'm like, okay, But that's what they did. I don't know what happened, what was going on in the waiting room for 7 hours, but.
Well, and people kept saying, this is just, it's routine, and we understand that, and it is, and it's incredible that we have advanced so much that literally opening you up and taking veins from other places on your body and sewing them into your heart so that to go around those arteries is just routine. But it's true. I mean, they told us that the doctor there in Lufkin, that surgeon, he does about 50 of these a year. I mean, he's doing basically one a week. And he said that the doctors in Houston probably do like 100 a week because they're doing other surgeries as well, which he does too. But I mean, this is the most common surgery, I guess. So, I mean, it's pretty wild that many people are getting these bypass surgeries.
Right.
Because it's a major surgery.
Well, I had, Rachel can probably speak more about it than I, but they had woke me up that night, and I guess it was pretty late that night when they woke me up.
Yeah.
And I was out of it. I mean, I was kind of loopy. I mean, I guess you can speak on that one.
Well, so a nurse had come out during the day. So we were in the waiting room, and we had, again, family and friends who came and were there. And so it was, and we were so supported. We've just been surrounded by so many supportive people who love us so much. And a nurse had come out and had kind of prepped me for what he would look like, because they're in pretty bad shape when they come out, in a lot of pain, and they have all the tubes coming out of them, and he was still on the ventilator at that point. So she had told me kind of what to expect. I mean, again, nothing really prepares you for what he's going to look like, but you know, I was glad that she had given me a heads up on what he would look like.
First thing I remember them kind of talking to me. I guess they were bringing me out of sedation.
Yeah.
And what time was it?
That was probably about, I don't know, 5:30.
Felt like it was midnight to me. I mean, I was just wore out. But I could hear them talking, and Rachel said that she was talking to me, and I'd try to wink at her even with my eyes closed.
I kept telling him, because, I mean, I don't know, it was really hard what do you say to somebody in that situation to try to be of comfort. I mean, the main thing they had told me was to tell him not to move his arms, because a lot of people try to pull they wake up and the first thing they do is try to pull the tubes out. So they had told me sometimes they tie your arms down. They didn't tie his down, but they just had told me, okay, now that I was in there, to keep his hands down, because he would kind of drift up, and they would say put his hands down. And so I basically said two things to him: I love you, and babe, you have to keep your hands down. And so every time that I would tell him that I would love him, he would have his eyes closed, and he would be like like he kept trying to like wink at me, and it was cute, but it was funny. But yeah, I mean, he was responding to us, and like, you know, the nurse would say, Mr. Kimbrell, can you hear me? Can you understand me? And he would kind of like, you know, nod his head, and she would say, open your eyes for me, and she'd check his eyes. But that was what went on for a long time. Well, probably at least an hour after I got in there. They really were just trying to like bring him off the sedation.
Yeah. Well, she said that once I started coming to, I couldn't talk because I had the tubes in my mouth. But then I started using my finger and spell stuff on her stomach or leg. I don't know what I was touching, but I could, you know, I could hear. I just couldn't talk. And then I told her I loved her, and I told her I'm sorry.
Yeah, so. And it was hot, so yeah. It was. I mean, I hadn't thought about that at all. That like he wouldn't be able to talk when he first got out, but that he was in pain and he was hot. So he was trying to tell us like the things that he needed, and so anyway, he spelled it out, and hey, I figured it out.
Yeah, we should have talked about that game plan before we went in there.
But then I mean, who knows if you would have been able to remember that or not, because I don't, you know. But anyway, it was funny, and that didn't last that long, because they pretty quickly took him off the vent, and then they told him not to talk for half an hour. But
and to back up, that week while we were in the hospital waiting for the bypass, it was pretty emotional.
Oh yeah,
because neither one of us expected that. You know, to be told, hey, you're about to have your heart opened up, and we're going to work on it. You're going to be off work for 12 weeks. I mean, in my company, in my work, if I don't work, I don't get paid. And I mean, telling somebody, hey, you're not going to get a paycheck for 12 weeks. You know, we had to sit down and say, hey, put a pad and paper to it, and I mean, it all worked out. Rachel makes good money. We have a good savings, and that's what it's there for. But I mean, we just would look at each other and tear up
Yeah.
because I mean, it was very emotional.
It was scary too. I mean, it was really scary because it may be routine, but it's also very serious. So yeah, it was a tough waiting time period,
Yeah.
just sort of sitting there waiting.
And then once they pulled the tubes out of my throat, it felt relief because I mean they were in. But I had tubes coming out of my neck, draining stuff. I had tubes in my abdomen. I had wires coming out of my chest. I mean, I was, I looked like the Bionic Man there for a bit because I was just covered with everything coming out. And they got me up. I sat in a chair.
Yeah.
But whenever they woke me up, it hurt so bad just to breathe. I could just take in just a sip of air, and it hurt so bad. I mean, it just felt like, I don't even know how to explain it, like I was just breathing in fire, and it hurt. And that night they put me on a what was that machine called? It's kind of like a CPAP, but
the BiPAP. That wasn't the first night.
I wasn't the first night.
No, you made it through one day. So he woke up, and they got him in a chair, and then the next day, you went a whole day, and they had him like stand up and sit down, but he just never would breathe very deeply. And his oxygen wasn't getting back up where it was supposed to be. And they just kept telling him to do that spirometer, where you have to like breathe deep. But he was in so much pain. Oh my goodness, he was in so much pain. He would not breathe. And so then that next day, so then that night, I went home and slept a little bit. And when I came back in the next morning, there were just all these people in his room. Like, it was like Grey's Anatomy. I mean, there were people everywhere. And it was a new shift of nurses, so I didn't even know who his nurse was. And I finally, like, a woman kind of acknowledged me, and I said, "Are you his nurse?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "Well, during the night, his oxygen had gotten down to like 82 or 83. I mean, it was really, really low. And part of it too, when they would lay him, like when he laid in bed, his oxygen would just tank. And so when he was sitting up, it was better, but it just had gotten so low. So they put him on this BiPAP machine, is what it was called. Like a CPAP only helps you either in or out. I don't know which one, but the BiPAP forces air in and out.
Yeah, and it hurt too. But the problem was when I laid in the bed, they had an air cushion on the bed, and I just kind of sank into it. And when I sank into it, it just kind of compressed everything. And if I was in the chair, I was able to, kind of open up my lungs more.
But he still wouldn't breathe deep,
Yeah,
even in the chair.
it hurt so bad. And I was on morphine, and you'd think morphine's strong, but it wasn't even touching the pain from my chest. I mean, they say the arm bone's connected to the shoulder bone, but I can tell you right now, the chest bone's connected to every bone in the body because whenever they cut it in half, I hurt so bad. It just hurt, and there wasn't no relief from it. They were giving me pain medicine, and it might help, but they had gave me something else, and it was helping, but then it was making me feel loopy, and I didn't like the way it was feeling, so I didn't like that pain medicine. So
then he quit he quit asking for pain medicine because he didn't like how it was feeling, which then made him breathe more shallow. I mean, it was just kind of a bad cycle. Yeah. So the surgeon was in there, and I pulled him out he walked out, and I went out and I said, how serious is this? And he was like, it's pretty serious. And he was like, we're about to have to put him on the vent. And I was just like, oh my goodness, and so I went back into the room after that, and because
she came back in all right.
But everybody was just kind of like, okay, Mr. Kimbrell, you have to breathe. And I was like, okay, that's not working, people. That is not working. So I came back in, and I told him what for. I'm sure everybody was like, this lady's nuts. But I was just like, you cannot die. You cannot quit. You have to breathe. You have to breathe deep. I know it hurts. I'm sorry it hurts, but no excuses. You have to breathe deep. And I was crying, and the respiratory therapists were like,
Yeah, but it's definitely the kick in the pants that I needed because
Yeah.
I mean I didn't want to go back on the vent. You know, I just gotten off of it the night before. You know, you hear the stories whenever during COVID when people went back on the vent and the situations. Definitely wasn't. You know, I feel like I'm ready to see Jesus, but I'm just not ready to see him today. I still have a lot of living and a lot of doing I still want to do, but you know, it was what I needed. I started, you know, even though it hurt so bad, I just started, you know, inhaling more.
And you could tell it hurt. Oh, you could tell every time we take it. And I just sat there with him. I probably sat in front of him for 2-3 hours, and just every breath he took, I was like, you know, good job, baby. You've got to breathe deep. You got to keep breathing deep. And I mean, you could see the pain in his face and his eyes. It was horrible, but he did it. He breathed deep, and yeah, they were able, I think that day, to get you off of that machine.
Right.
And then he was on like really high, like they moved him then to like this high oxygen concentrator that could go higher than some, I don't know, there were all these technical things, but they kind of were weaning him down.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, whew, but that was very scary.
And I mean, you know, we had debated, like I said before, going to Houston, and we were scared if we went to Houston, we might find a better hospital, but we didn't know what doctor we may get. And so we kind of weighed everything out. But all in all, Woodland Heights, they did a fantastic job in the ICU and step down.
Yeah,
we were very happy.
Yeah.
And we were very happy with the nurses.
We had some great ICU nurses.
And they were very, they were Christians, and they spoke their piece, and you know.
Well, some.
Yeah, some. Not all of them, but they were all good, and we really enjoyed it. Other than the food, I
don't know if we enjoyed this day, but if you're gonna have to go to the hospital, we got good care.
Right, and I had weighed out. You know, if we went to Houston, Rachel was there every time she wasn't at work or coming home to take care of the dogs or do something. She was up at the hospital, and it's a lot easier driving 30 minutes than it would have been 3 hours if we'd been in Houston, or an hour and a half to Tyler. But so she was there a lot, you know, every waking minute, other than we forced her out at night to go home and go get some rest. But so
yeah, he had one night nurse who was really amazing, and he was like, he basically just told me, he's like, I've got him, you know. And then he gave me the number for the ICU and was like, call me when you get home and I'll give you a report. And he was like, you know, if anything changes, I will call you. And I was like, they told me that the first night and nobody called me when he got sick. And he was like, I will call you. And anyway, he was really great. And he's the one that like got Bruce up and walking.
Yeah, we got, you know, I guess after the first, maybe the second day.
Yeah.
They got me up walking. I was walking around the ICU. They had a big loop I do. And I mean, there it was, you know, one loop around, which probably wasn't 75 yards. That was it. That's all I could do. And then I'd come back and sit down. And I might do twice a day. And so.
Yeah.
But we were at the hospital till October 22nd. I was there for 5 days. And I mean, it's amazing they can cut me wide open, repair my heart, and do all that work. And 5 days later, they sent me on home.
And he would have gone home sooner, but we had the setback with the oxygen. But they tell you 7 days is what to expect, but he did pretty good.
Yeah.
And
the day we walked out of the hospital, I mean, it literally felt like I had been standing in the road and a Mack truck had hit me face first, because everything just hurt so bad. But I walked out. I walked to the
he insisted on walking out of the hospital. He wouldn't let him wheel him out.
I walked out to the hospital and walked out to the car and got in the back seat. You know, I couldn't ride in the front because of the airbags, so I sat in the back seat, and Rachel drove me home. And the next 3 weeks was a real battle. I mean, I was still so weak. We got home, tried to lay in the bed. I couldn't lay in the bed. It was too low, too soft. Tried to lay on the couch, didn't work, but I was able to get in my recliner, put a couple pillows on each side of me, and she covered me up, put a small pillow behind my head. And that's where I basically stayed for 3 weeks, or at least 2. I think the third week I finally got in the bed, but for the first 2 weeks, and then she slept on the couch, in the living room, and I would sleep for about 2 hours, wake up, had to go use the restroom, and then she'd have to come back over there, get me situated again. I'd go to sleep for another 2 hours, and did it. I mean, basically, whenever I got out of surgery, it was minute by minute, and then after a few days, it was hour by hour, and then it was day by day, and now we're week by week. I feel this past week we're at 5 weeks. I feel like my old self, which I got to watch it. I want to start doing I feel like I'm me again, and I want to start doing all the stuff that I was doing before it. But I know, hey, my sternum's still healing up, my heart's still getting strong. I just got to slow down and take my time. And that's easier said than done sometimes, but so far everything's been good. I've just been tinkering around, doing stuff in the shop, at the house,
and we found out the day we left the hospital, the 22nd, that our embryo didn't make it.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily it happened when it did, because she was about to start her third round, and she would have been going back and forth. But when we found everything out, she was able to put that on halt. So, we're going to start that back up the first of the year. We got 2 more rounds. Three more rounds we can go. And we'll start that back up in January. Hopefully I'll start back to work in January 5th, somewhere in there. And we can get back to our regular self. I meant, real quick, backstory. I worked for 28 years for Otis Elevator. Well, it's the fact. And, you feel like you work for somebody for 28 years, your family. But I realized real quick, I mean, the guys that I worked with, my mechanics that I worked with in Beaumont and Lake Charles, yes, they're great guys. The salesman, great guy. He contacted, Rachel, wanted to know, how I was doing, wanted to know when I got out of surgery.
Shared with everybody.
Yeah, and shared with the guys at Beaumont and Lake Charles.
Yeah.
But the oldest office in Houston, the ones I work for, it's been 5 weeks now, or actually 6 weeks, because I went into the hospital a week prior with the cath. Have never reached out and said, hey, how you doing? Good luck. Nothing. So, and Rachel brought up, most people don't realize, what's important. And work is not important, because the day you can't do for them is the day they can't do for you. And it took me 28 years to realize that. But saying that, it definitely lets me know family is first, because, work calls me 24/7 when I'm home working. But, family's where it's at, because, when your mother passed away, we were there. It's just, sometimes, I guess maybe God steps in and refocuses everything and lets you know what's important. So with that being said, that's enough on that situation. But
well, my work's been super supportive.
Oh yeah, SFA and the staff at SFA, ask them jacks, baby, because they fed us for the first 4 weeks. They fed us, and I lost 20 pounds with the surgery, but it wasn't because of not eating, because I ate good.
Well, my work, our church, friends. It was more than that, because when I was at the hospital with Bruce, one of the women that I work with, she was here, she fed me. She single-handedly kept me fed, made sure that I, had what I needed. And then after she started a meal train, we've had meals from friends and my work, and, some of our church friends have brought us food, and it was really, really nice. I know that in the South, that's just kind of, people take food, and I've heard people say, well, I don't know what else to do other than take food. But I can testify that taking food is a very helpful thing, because you know, for us, like he was saying, I mean, I was trying to help him get settled and comfortable, and it was exhausting for both of us. I mean, obviously he was the one going through all the painful stuff, but it's a lot of mental energy for the caregiver too. And it was so nice to not have to think about how we were going to eat, because we were having to figure out how we were doing everything else, and that I did not have to think about, and it was wonderful. So yeah, I mean,
and
we really
we thank everybody. I mean, the list is too long to even start naming it, but we thank everybody for all the support, the prayers. I needed every prayer at the time that the prayers came in, and it's been a true blessing.
Yeah, we realized that we're very surrounded by a community that loves us and cares for us, and you know, that's a really incredible feeling too, to realize how many people care and love about you, that you know, you work with, that you live with, that you go to church with. It's been indescribable.
Yeah. But you know, here we are. I started rehab 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's going slow. Woo, it's slow. I mean, they started me out like at 1.5 on a treadmill for 10 minutes, and I'm like, this ain't even a wall. It's a slow walk. But we had been walking, you know, before, and I go to the gym. I ain't gonna say I work out hard, but I work out 5 days a week, and mainly talk more smack in the gym than I do working out. But I enjoy it, and so I felt like I was in good shape before it, and I'm getting back. And so, and on a little side note, before we had went to do the cath and everything, we had Taco, the little flying squirrel.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, about a couple of days prior to my cath, we thought we had Taco on the upswing. He was climbing around his cage on sticks and eating regular food and apples and everything. And I woke up one morning before I went to work, and he was stiff as a board. So I guess God played a part in that too. As bad, or I guess as cruel as it is for an animal. But there was no way that Rachel was going to be able to contend with feeding a squirrel 3 or 4 times a day and being at the hospital with me, because, you know, so.
Yeah, I don't think they would have liked having a wild flying squirrel in the
emergency room.
ICU. Yeah.
But, and so it's been a real treat. I'm still breathing. It's better than a dirt nap, and we'll live to die another day. So we appreciate everybody, and can't, you know, bottom of my heart, can't thank everybody for everything they've done. And that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that covers it. So yeah, but we'll start back up on things in January. So
yeah,
update you then.
Yeah. You know, we'll just keep praying for that. You know, this needed to be taken care of before.
Yeah.
You know, she got pregnant anyway. So I mean, God played a hand in that too, because we don't need her getting pregnant, and then if that would have had to deal with my situation with the stress, it wouldn't have been good for her or the baby. So I mean, we'll just see what happens. All right, appreciate it. Y'all have a great day. Thank y'all.